There we are. Morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Baltimore County House of Delegates delegation. On this, the 30th day of January, we are going to have our meetings generally have a guest speaker for a bit, and then we go to bill hearings and bill voting. The speaker's not able to be here. We were scheduled to have Superintendent Miriam Rogers. She has sent a message and also called me this morning saying, I hope this message finds you well. I was looking forward to meeting with all of you this morning during this important time of year. You might know that I'm addressing a system matter and I'm unable to make it to the meeting today. I wanted to thank you for your understanding and hope to reschedule with all of us as soon as possible. She wishes us a good day and apologizes if there's any inconvenience. We know that Superintendent Rogers meets with us frequently during the interim. We have lots of information from her. More is always better, but I would say that she does a very adequate job of keeping us updated on what's going on in Baltimore County schools, but we'll look forward to welcoming her again to delegation as soon as we can schedule her in. With that, we will move directly to the bill hearings part of our meeting, and we'll begin with House Bill 89. This is Inspector General Authority over Baltimore County Public Schools. Delegate Naraki is a sponsor. Delegate, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning.
Morning to you.
All right, sir, let me just jump right into this here. Dear Chair Ebersol, Vice Chair Pastor, and distinguished members of the Baltimore County delegation, for the record, I am Delegate Ryan Naraki requesting a favorable report on HB 89, which is titled the Baltimore County Inspector General Authority over Baltimore County Public Schools. I am proud to be supporting the House version of this bipartisan bill with the Senate sponsor, Senator Carl Jackson. I also want to thank Chair Ebersol and then Senator Kathy Klausmeier, now County Executive Klausmeier, for helping to trailblaze this issue by introducing a bill several years ago that very much laid the groundwork for where we are today in this conversation. Last year, the Baltimore County Council approved Resolution 4025 with overwhelming bipartisan support to request state authorization to expand the Baltimore County Office of the Inspector General's jurisdiction to include oversight of Baltimore County Public Schools, or BCPS. This bill would simply enable Baltimore County to expand the Office of the Inspector General as they requested. At its core, this legislation is about giving tools, not mandates. It does not dictate how the county must act. Rather, it enables local leaders to decide how the structure of the Inspector General's office would work to best serve the community. This bill does not automatically expand the Inspector General's oversight. The council will have the final say on broadening the jurisdiction as they requested. While BCPS absolutely has internal auditors, they are not investigators. One of the primary differences, and I have a witness that's going to help explain that as well, but one of the primary differences between auditors and investigators is the subpoena power granted to investigators. This tool allows investigators to be more thorough and often more comprehensive, since the Inspector General can access documents and other testimony that is outside of, in this case, BCPS or whatever other agency we might be talking about with Inspector Generals in general. An Inspector General operating independently from BCPS can help reinforce trust in county government. And that doesn't mean to say that we have distrust in county government, but school leadership, teachers, and staff will feel ensured that their concerns are being examined fairly and comprehensively. Transparency protects not only taxpayers, but also the many dedicated professionals who work every day on behalf of Baltimore County students. This is why this bill has the support of the Teachers Association of Baltimore County, or as we all know it as TABCO. They have said, and I agree, that every dollar that does not properly advance student learning goals and needs is wasted. Another key distinction between the Inspector General's role and auditors lies in public disclosure. Unlike internal audits, the Office of the Inspector General is required to post all of its findings and make it available to the public. Now, the auditors are doing that, but they're not required to do that. The Inspector General is. This openness allows for residents to understand better how decisions are made and how resources are used fostering informed civic engagement, and reinforcing public confidence. Some have argued that expanding the authority of the Baltimore County Inspector General is redundant and unnecessary, as the Maryland Office of the Inspector General has an Inspector General for Education. The Inspector General for Education, Rick Henry, who we will hear from today, has disagreed with that assertion. You may all know that local and state, as you all know, local and state oversight can and should work together in effective governance. Mr. Henry, I think, is going to testify about his effective work with the Montgomery County Inspector General, who has a similar authority like we're asking for in this bill to be to allow the council to do so. A concern has been raised regarding this legislation about its cost of implementation. I think the county is going to have a fiscal note that's going to say between $750,000 and $800,000 for the implementation per year to accommodate additional staff and office expenses. There is no question that additional staff costs money. However, that does not account for potential savings that could be gained from an office like this. In the Montgomery County Inspector General's 2025 annual report, she highlighted that $18.1 million in question costs were found in just 1 year last year in Montgomery County Public Schools. Those are real dollars, and there could be possibility for similar enhanced accountability in Baltimore County. Now, I know, and I just want to close with, more than half of the county budget goes to BCPS. BCPS employees are county employees. The BCPS staff, the unions negotiate with Baltimore County, not the state. So there is a clear role of county oversight, county responsibility inside of this agency. And with a proposed budget for fiscal year 2027 of $2.49 billion, significant oversight is required to ensure that tax dollars are spent efficiently and effectively. And this legislation supports that mission. Accountability and transparency are nonpartisan issues. And this legislation, I believe, is an essential, actionable step in support of transparency and effective governance in Baltimore County. And I would ask for a favorable report, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your testimony. I'm going to ask again that if you're here to be a witness, but you're not being called on at this time, if you could turn off your camera, because we're going to have some votes later on. It's easier for me to see them. Although, Mr. Ertel, you can stay on because you are actually the first witness that is to testify. I will tell you we have a 2-minute limit for testimony. I will ask you to summarize at the end of 2 minutes if you haven't gotten there yet. You have the floor, sir.
Sorry, there we go. Couldn't find the mic. Still don't hear myself. Anyway, good morning, everyone. I think Delegate Naraki did a good job of summarizing here. We half our budget goes to the school system, and I have heard things like, well, is this an indictment of the superintendent, or do we not have faith in the management of BCPS? That's not it at all. Having an inspector general have authority over the school system is good government. It's a good standard. It's been very useful in county government, not only from a standpoint of finding waste, fraud, and abuse, but also I think a lot of our policies have gotten better in the sense that everyone's sharpened their pencil to make sure that we're doing all the due diligence we need to do in a lot of the county government agencies because of the inspector general, of the possibility of, it being reviewed. So I just think if this were passed, this would punt it back to the county council to make the decision as to whether we want this to happen. We would have to find money for it, and that may take a while. But I think overall it's a good government practice, and that's why I'm here today. So thank you.
And thank you. Again, I'm going to ask, I've got a handful of people who are here to testify whose cameras are on. If you could turn them off, it reduces the confusion on the screen. We're going to go through all the witnesses, and then Delegate Ruth, we will come to questions. You can leave your hand up, though. Next, we have Councilman David Marks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
I can indeed. You're fine.
Okay, very good. And my video doesn't seem to be working, so I'll just go right into the testimony. I'll be super brief.
A very handsome picture, though, sir. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Thank you to my good friend and chair, Councilman Ortel, and thank you, Delegate Naraki, for sponsoring this. I fully support House Bill 89, legislation to give the County Council the authority to extend the jurisdiction over the Office of the Inspector General. I was actually the sponsor of the resolution, which was supported by 5 other of my colleagues, both Republicans and Democrats. A resolution supporting this council passed the County Council with strong bipartisan vote, and for good reason. The public expects accountability in government. It is imperative we ensure that taxpayer funding is spent in as wisely a manner as possible. You all know we live in an era of finite resources, and money that is saved through both audits and investigations of the Inspector General can be applied to classroom instruction and other critical needs. As Chairman Ortel mentioned, the legislation empowers the next Baltimore County Council to provide this authority, likely at the same time the new county executive and council are considering the appointment of a new Inspector General. Again, I thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I thank Delegate Naraki for introducing this important legislation. Thank you.
Thank you for being here to testify. Next, we have Kelly Olds, who is the president of the Teachers Association of Baltimore County. Ms. Olds. We don't see her on right now, so we're going to move on. If she shows up, we'll certainly return to her. Next, we have Isabel Cumming, Baltimore City Inspector General.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I have been the Inspector General of Baltimore City for the past 8 years. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was the importance of strong oversight and how important it is to the public. And I also wanted to touch on something very important that sometimes people wonder, and it's the difference between an auditor and an investigator. I have been both. There is a very big difference. In the state of Maryland, we have the legislative auditors, who are an incredible professional group. In Baltimore County, you also have the auditors. What we lack is the investigators. Now, the investigators follow different standards than the auditors, who are yellow book or green book. Investigators move quickly, we're reactionary, we work towards a hotline, we are responsive to the public, we do the investigations of detailed financial situations, whereas the auditors, a lot are looking at policies, the announcements of things. So following along, when there's a situation that the public demands or wants answers to, that is where it's such good governance to be able to say, we voted on an Inspector General, we have this. And the type of impact, like Megan said, we also have a strong office statewide, but Baltimore County has a lot of money going to the programs, and there can never be too much oversight because there's so much money and everything. So a strong office of the Inspector General with education would be what I believe what the citizens of Baltimore County would really want. I can just quickly give you a real quick thing. And when I was at WMATA, we had a case where the auditors found no problems. I was able to find a $600,000 fraud that went to the
Ms.
FBI.
Cummings, your 2 minutes. If you could just summarize in a sentence, please.
So I just want to summarize that this is a very good policy, and I, as a former Baltimore County resident, would highly recommend this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Richard Henry, State Inspector General for Education.
Good morning, Chair Eversole, Vice Chair Pastor, and members of the delegation. I'm Rick Henry, and I'm your Inspector General for the state of Maryland for education. I've been asked to speak on this bill, and I want to make sure I make something clear before I even begin, is that there was some confusion that I was opposed to this bill. I had worked with Senator Jackson and Delegate Naraki on trying to get to the framework of this. The numbers that were presented were based on some of the estimates that I provided, what it would be to bring, a group of investigators on board, and that's from starting this office from scratch. So I just want to let you know, as just the IG and as a Baltimore County resident, I also support this endeavor. Just for some background, just to let you know, since 2020, my office with Montgomery County alone has received 227 complaints. And of that, we've only conducted one joint investigation. And that's because IG Lamarzi does have that authority. We have worked collaboratively together. She has used us for the advice for education and our inroads into MSDE and the state board. But as it goes to Baltimore County, over that same period, we've received 245 complaints, of which 17 have raised to the level of an investigation. We have received 7 referrals from the IG's office, 5 of which we had already received through our hotlines. So, although there has been a lot that has occurred, we have also handled what we could in Baltimore County, like we have with the other 24 school systems. As I had said to you previously, and I had also spoken, one of the things that I noticed in this legislation is the idea of the full performance audit. But please understand that the county already has, through the Maryland Education Article 5-110, that authority. That can happen now. You do not need to have a new inspector general. You do not need to instill those powers. The county council has those powers. So I know that my time is up, but I'm available for any additional questions that you might have. Again, I was asked, but I am in support of this and believe that, the inspector general would be and have the power over the school systems.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I will point out that it would be great if the witnesses would stay. Questions might be a general nature and someone can take them, or there might be questions directed at particular witnesses. If you move your cursor to the top of the screen, you can see the counter up there. It doesn't show up automatically, but if you're trying to keep an eye on yourself, you can do that. You can just slide your cursor up to the top and tap it. It will show the clock counting down for you. Next, we have Maggie Dominowski, who is a member of the Baltimore County Board of Education.
Good morning, distinguished delegates. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak in support of House Bill 89. While some of you may know me as a member of the Baltimore County Board of Education, I am here today as a parent of 3 Baltimore County public school students. My concerns are deeply personal, rooted in the future of my children and the fiscal priorities of their school system. We often hear that BCPS is not a revenue-generating body, and I agree. Public school systems are not meant to generate revenue or create jobs. They exist for one purpose: to ensure that every child receives an equitable access to a quality education that prepares them for adulthood. If you search for how many Maryland public school boards have a budget committee, you'll find that all 24 systems supposedly do. But I know firsthand this isn't true. In Baltimore County, 4 elected and 3 appointed board members voted to disband our budget committee, responsible for overseeing nearly $3 billion. Their reasoning was that the budget is too important to be left to just a few members, and that all board members should have oversight. I don't disagree, but actions speak louder than words. When board members are limited to just 2 minutes of public questioning on budget topics, it signals that the appearance of transparency is valued more than true transparency. As a lifelong Baltimore County resident and a parent, I believe I should be able to understand how every dollar in our budget is spent. I should also be able to reach out to my board representative with questions and receive answers. Thank you for your time and consideration. I urge you to support this bill. Baltimore County residents do not want to pay more in taxes for an educational system that puts adults before students. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're in a little bit of an unusual situation. We had two people signed up to testify last week who didn't get signed up this week. And so I could say, no, they can't testify. I'm not going to be heavy-handed like that, both Mary Taylor and Amy Adams. But if you could keep your comments relatively brief, please, I would give you a minute or so to go with Jennifer.
Chair Ebersol, this is Mary Taylor. I did sign up last week and received confirmation that I was able to speak today. So I would like to
The
have
list that was given to it.
sir. Well, I'm also not speaking on the same organization.
We're using
as
time right now, ma'am. Can you just begin testifying? We'll go ahead and give you your time.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Baltimore County delegation. For the record, my name is Mary Taylor, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Baltimore County League of Women Voters in favor of HB 89. The role of the Baltimore County Inspector General should be to ensure that all policies, programs, and procedures related to government agencies, including and especially our school system, are conducted fairly, honestly, and in the best interest of the public. Baltimore County public school budgets have increased steadily over the years, placing tremendous economic impact on residents. For BCPS schools, the budgets have grown approximately $2.5 billion in recent years, yet too many citizens still have not witnessed positive outcomes for themselves, their children, or the county. The one area neglected but remedied by this legislation is accountability to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse. We owe such protection to our citizens. Recognizing that need locally, the Baltimore County Council passed a resolution to give the Inspector General the authority to oversee the school system, which utilizes about half of the county budget. HB delivers that independent oversight, and now it is in your hands. Therefore, we urge you to support HB 89 on behalf of the residents and to benefit our children of Baltimore County Public Schools. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you. I was taking care of women voters. All right. Didn't get an answer to that. All right. Thank you. Amy Adams to testify. Looks like we're going to go ahead and just concede.
Sorry, Delegate Ebersol, were you speaking to me because your microphone was all breaking up?
Okay, I'll try again. I was curious, since you list as League of Women Voters, if you're speaking on behalf of that organization or as yourself.
No, sir, I am speaking on behalf of the League of Women Voters this morning. Thank you.
Okay. This is their considered opinion.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Amy Adams, please.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and support HB 89 on behalf of the Baltimore County Parent and Student Coalition. I submitted written testimony last week on behalf of our group, but wanted to highlight some additional points of support. Based on the resolution passed by the majority of the County Council, we hope that you support this bill 89. At the end of the COVID grant funding and anticipated budget shortfalls, BCPS has faced financial challenges. In the past few years, over 700 school-based positions were eliminated. Despite dropping enrollment to pre-2013 levels, class sizes have grown. Academic gains remain limited, especially for secondary students who largely remain below proficiency. Overall, improvement has not closed skills gaps. BCPS conducts limited internal audits to ensure compliance with policies, but does not perform comprehensive or forensic reviews. At the last audit committee meeting, staff confirmed their focus is on materiality rather than examining every transaction. A recent audit found that of 95 investigations, 43 cases of misconduct were substantiated, the highest in 3 years. 34 cases from the past school year were inconclusive, unsubstantiated, or unreported, and 18 remained pending. Full audit reports and investigation details are not publicly released. We support giving the county inspector general authority over BCPS because more than half of the county budget is spent on schools. Taxpayer needs assurances that funds are used effectively, from hiring qualified educators to maintaining facilities and improving academics. The IG can investigate fraud, waste, or abuse and report findings directly to the public. This is not intended to decrease public funds, but provide better safeguards and better allocation. Expanding the IG roles lets us draw on lessons from Montgomery County, the OIGE, and PG counties to create an office suited to local needs. People want greater transparency, especially regarding public spending. So thank you for your support of Bill HB 89 and for the students of Baltimore County.
Thank you for your testimony. We're going to go a step further here. Julie Henn to testify.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Chair Ebersol, Vice Chair Pasteur, and members of the delegation. My name is Julie Henn. I'm here today to speak in strong support of HB 89, and I thank Delegate Naraki for introducing this critical legislation. You may hear opponents argue that this bill is unnecessary because current internal and external audit functions are sufficient. I must respectfully disagree. The role of the Inspector General is distinct. It is not duplicative. There's a fundamental structural flaw in relying solely on internal audits. Currently, the Internal Audit Office answers to the superintendent. When issues arise outside of a scheduled audit, they are often referred back to management to handle. The results of those referrals are almost never disclosed to the public. It is a closed loop where accountability can easily and does easily vanish. Conversely, the Inspector General answers to the public. The IG possesses unique rights and responsibilities that no other office holds. They own the complaint from the moment it is received until the final report is issued. Their investigations are driven by complaints, not just schedules, and most importantly, their reports are shared publicly. This independence is critical. Whistleblowers are far more likely to report fraud, waste, and abuse to an outside independent office than to an internal department where they fear retribution. They need a safe venue that is completely outside the chain of command. Furthermore, while traditional audits are reactive, looking at money already spent, the IG's function is also proactive. They serve a vital consulting role, recommending best practices that lead to greater efficiency and responsible use of taxpayer dollars before they are spent. Finally, it is important to note that HB 89 does not immediately impose this oversight. It simply authorizes the County Council to grant it. It hands the decision to our local fiscal stewards.
Thank you. If you could summarize, please, in a sentence.
I have one more sentence. Thank you. We need a watchdog that is proactive, independent, and uniquely accountable to the taxpayers. I urge a favorable report on HB 89. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's all of our witnesses now. We had a little snafu with getting the list together there. At the outset, I want to ask the sponsor a question that I also asked him in committee yesterday, just to clarify. What this bill would do is it would enable the county government, the county council in this case, to enable an agency of the county to have oversight over the school board, which is a state agency. You would be granting them oversight over one of our agencies. Is that accurate?
Yes, Mr. Chair. As I said yesterday, that is accurate.
Just I wanted the delegation to hear that answer, and thank you. Let's go to some questions from some of the members. We'll go to the Vice Chair first. Vice Chair Pasteur.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. My question goes to Councilman Ertel. But first, let me thank the witnesses. You've certainly given us a wide view of your thinking. So thank you, particularly Ms. Cummings, for your comments based on your expertise. So that brings me around to Councilman Ertel. You noted that you wanted to see this over the school system, this authority to be over the school system. That's a little broader. So please explain what you mean by that. Budget, investigation, we've heard a lot of things this morning. So since some of this stems from the county council and it would go back based on this bill to the county council to make decisions, I'd really like to know what you meant about having this person over the school system.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I simply meant that the IG would have, the ability to investigate issues, complaints that were brought by whomever within the school system, just like we do county government. And with half our budget going to the school system, it just seems to make sense that we would want to have some kind of scrutiny of things that go on, and often it's way down in the hierarchy. A lot of the things, if you've looked at any of the IG reports that have been brought out in Baltimore County, sometimes it's just employees who are abused. They're using their county vehicle and running a business, or there's a lot of different things that happen that erode the public's trust. And when one of the things we saw when we had the IG debate this summer, the public believes in this office, and they feel like it's a check and balance with government and good governance. I don't know if that answered your question, but hopefully.
So you are pulling it in based on or limited to what investigations that have been brought to the IG? I'm just trying to get a sense of how far, since the council would be able to describe what it is for what it is looking. What do you see as the parameters there? I heard what you said, but
yeah. I would say it would be the same parameters that they have over county government. No one's looking to have more authority over the school system at the county council or the executive level. But we feel like this is, again, just like we have on the county government side, this would be a measure of good governance for, the school system as well.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Might surprise her a little. Delegate Ruth, you're up. Go ahead and go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, is Mr. Henry still on? I wanted to ask a question.
Yes, I'm still here.
Great, thank you so much. And so first of all, I want to thank the bill sponsor for the bill and for how carefully you've thought through this. But Mr. Henry, thank you for being here and for your testimony. I just wanted to check if this were to pass and this Inspector General, the Inspector General's office be expanded with additional staff and have the authority to do this, would that relieve some burden from your office, taking up some of the investigative slack, which would also translate to relieving the financial burden on the state?
Thank you, Delegate. We still, although in Montgomery County's case, we still have oversight of state funds. So in that particular case, the savings to the state, we still have a responsibility for not only state funds, but the state board. In Baltimore County, it could relieve us. As I said, we've conducted only 17 investigations since 2020. But we also currently have had a memorandum of understanding with the Baltimore County IG that allowed that office to assist us in conducting investigations within the school system. We've had that in place. I brought that from my previous career with the federal government, but we've never used that in any really of our investigations. So that afforded the IG to continue on with the local responsibilities of the other of the other county agencies, while we continued on looking at some of the Baltimore County issues that I had worked with previously with Chair Pastor when she was sat on the board also. I hope that answers.
Thank you so much. Sort of, but so I guess my question is, if Baltimore County investigators are taking up some of these investigations, then your investigators would not have to possibly, and I appreciate you're working collaboratively, and that's important, but it might mean you need less staff time for investigations because Baltimore County is taking up some of that slack.
Well, I would not have to focus on Baltimore County as much as I do. At Baltimore County is 1/24th of my responsibility. So yes, it would allow my investigators to focus on other areas within the state. So that is correct in your analysis there. But that doesn't mean, only because the IG for Baltimore County has the authority to do it, that we wouldn't be working with them side by side either.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Mr. Henry. I really appreciate that. Mr. Chair, may I ask one more question of
Sure, I had a follow-up for yours as well, but go ahead. If it's for the State Inspector General, I'd like to follow up real quickly.
It's not. Go ahead.
Okay, so thank you. So I see that in your staff, you have a unit supervisor inspector, you have 2 central region inspectors, you have a complaint evaluator, you have quite a staff there. Are you having a capacity problem? Is that part of the reason that you feel like you need Baltimore County's help here?
Well, Delegate, we have asked for the last 4 years for additional staff. Unfortunately, in some cases, I have to pick and choose the cases and be creative in working on the other ones. So in some cases, we have worked hand in hand with the local school systems to conduct the investigation with us or under our supervision, where other ones we have taken the lead. As you had just mentioned about staff, I have one person who handles all our hotline complaints. It's one person who has taken care of, this year, it was over 580 complaints. So in addition to that, I have 6 investigators who are responsible for the entire state. And then I have 4 investigative auditors who support those 6 investigators. So, and 1 attorney who is assigned to me from the Attorney General's office to ensure that every investigation that goes out of my office is reviewed for legal sufficiency. And, of course, I can always use additional staff.
So, okay, so maybe that's another issue entirely. Maybe we should be looking at your capacity. Delegate Ruth, you had a follow-up.
Yes,
I didn't want to ignore that question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My second question is a follow-up, but I wanted to ask Councilman Ertel and Councilman Marks. I believe you are the only 2 council members running for re-election, so you were the only 2 that might possibly be on the county council to approve this. And I just wanted to ask, understanding you don't develop the initial budget, that the county executive does that, and you can't micromanage the school budget, but you do have a budgetary authority. And will you support the additional funds that are needed for this additional staff in the Inspector General's office?
Delegate Ruth, that's a great question. I would. The other thing I wanted to bring up that I don't know that I was clear with Vice Chair Pastor. With the IG, these are all complaint-driven issues. So that, and that's what we have in county government. So there's no, it's not like the IG walks in and says, I want to see this, this, and this, unless it's a complaint that actually sent them there. And I think sometimes people believe that, this is somebody looking over your shoulder all the time or something like that. But it's really, they're all complaint driven, and a lot of them are justified in the sense of they find no wrongdoing. There's I think it's less than 20% they find wrongdoing out of the 80% that they investigate on the county side. But yeah, we would have to find money for this. In the scheme of things, if it's another $600,000 or $700,000, that's not really a very large budgetary issue in the county government. I know it's a lot of money anywhere. We can always use money elsewhere, but we do believe that this will help save us money as well in the long run.
Thank you so much. Is Councilman Marks on?
Yes. And Delegate Ruth, that's an excellent question. I would absolutely support it. And perhaps we could phase this in over several years to blunt the blow. But great question. I would be very supportive of that.
Thank you so much. I'm done, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you. Delegate Shalega.
Thank you so much. I guess this question, Maggie Dominowski, school board member, mentioned this. So Maggie, if you're still on, or Delegate Naraki could answer. So I think she said that the audits currently done are given to the superintendent and are not made public. Did I understand that correctly?
That was Julie Hen, but yes.
So they don't, the current audits, which are, complaint driven, are not made, given to the public to see the adjudication.
Would you like me to jump in?
Sure. Yeah.
Delegate Shalega?
Yeah. Thanks, Julie.
Sure. That is correct. So there is nothing compelling internal audit to share those reports publicly. Most of the time, the board doesn't even receive those reports.
Oh, the board doesn't even get to look at them?
Correct.
Okay, that's troubling. Thank you, Julie. And one question for Rick Henry. Can you let us know how this relationship has worked out with Montgomery County, where they have the education IG?
Certainly, Delegate. Just one clarification about, I know that Board Member Hen had mentioned about the path of the audit. It's my understanding in Baltimore County, and we had worked with them before, that the internal auditor reports directly to the board, not the superintendent, and that any audits that are provided as part of their audit plan goes to a subcommittee. That subcommittee takes a vote as if it will advance to the board. So that is where the bottle gets narrow, and you don't know if it's going to flow up or not. So I just want to make that clarification, because we have worked with the internal auditor, and there is a number of reports that just stop at the subcommittee level and don't get passed. So it doesn't even make its way to the board itself or to the public. So I just want to make a clarification. Secondly, with Montgomery County, our relationship has been very good. We have worked more as an authority for the education aspect when they have education questions, or a conduit to get to the subject matter expert within MSDE or the state board or another agency throughout the state. So we have worked, again, collaboratively. We have had one major investigation that we had conducted with them. That was the principal issue and the ethics issue that occurred down there. And in that particular case, we actually had to recuse ourselves because we started the initial investigation. And as a result of our investigation, we knew that there was untruths. So that's why they had to bring in the IG itself. We had to actually take a step back. But we have worked great since this occurred. And that's basically since day one that I took this office. That authority was given to the Montgomery County IG. At the same time, my office was created.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
All right.
And I just wanted to
No,
correct.
no, Ms. Dominowski, the question wasn't asked of you, and
It was asked about the audit, and there
Yes,
was
ma'am.
no,
Yes,
can I just
ma'am.
clarify what
However,
happened? 'Cause as a member of the
however,
audit
ma'am,
committee.
ma'am, excuse me. Excuse me. We're moving on to the next question. The question was directed to Mr. Henry. Delegates will direct their questions to the people who are going to answer, okay? We have a time limit here. We have to finish in about an hour, okay? And I would like us to get through all the questions that delegates have. So if you put your hand down, we'll call in. If somebody directs a question to you, or if they feel like you'd be a good person to answer, we will recognize you. Delegate Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to everybody who testified. This was very helpful for me, especially Ms. Cummings. I think you clarified some things that I had questions about, so thank you for that. I just had two questions. One is, and thank you to the sponsors for bringing this bill forward. I think public trust is at an all-time low, and just here in Baltimore County and the country just in general. And I think any way we can raise transparency and accountability improves that. So thank you. I think we're on the right track with the sentiment of the gist of what this bill is trying to accomplish. My concern is related to the timing. So my question is to the State Inspector General. Right now in Baltimore County, there's a lot of flux that's happening in the county. So there is no permanent Inspector General in place right now. There's no, eventually there will be a commission, independent commission that will appoint, that's actually for the voters to decide in November. We will have a commission that will be able to appoint a permanent Inspector General, may be the same person, may not be the same person. We'll have a brand new council. Essentially, we may have retained 2 members, hopefully. But there are most of the council the seats are open. So not all the players involved in this will be totally new. We don't know today who they are. So my question to you is, do you think we are disadvantaged by that? I mean, there's at this point, we're flying blind here. I feel like, we're trying, if we, extend this authority to the council, we can assess the individuals who are there, their judgment, how they might go about it. We can't look to say that the Inspector General has a strong track record of starting a thing. It may be strong in its skill set, but kicking this off is going to require a certain type of Inspector General. We can't evaluate any of these things. Every single stakeholder involved in this is unknown to us at this time. So can you just speak to that? Are we disadvantaged by that? If you can objectively be honest about it. And then what do you think we can do to try to set people up for success? I don't want to see a good idea fail because we don't have the infrastructure or the stability around it to make it successful.
And who are you looking for an answer from for that delegate?
I'm sorry, the State Inspector General.
Thank you.
I can tell you right now that we haven't missed a step since Ms. Madigan has left office. I have worked with the Deputy Inspector General, Mr. Quisenberry, to ensure that we continue this collaborative partnership. Our hotline still receives complaints from all the school systems, including Baltimore County. So I can assure you that right now we haven't missed a step. As you had spoken about the future, it's a cloudy crystal ball. That's all I can say is that, I don't know if I'll be here. I don't know if Mr. Quisenberry will be here. I don't know, as you were just mentioning with Delegate Marks, and it's all that they're going to be the only continuing. So I don't know where the support will be. So I can't really answer that for you, but I know as long as I'm in this office, I'm 100% in support and make sure that I assist the next Inspector General of Baltimore County as much as I can. And if this changes, I will continue that relationship very similar to what I have with IG Lamarzi in Montgomery County to ensure we're a continued resource.
Okay, thank you. And my second question was to your point about how you collaborate with with Montgomery County, and I think Prince George's was another county that did a similar thing. Can you clarify, and this is back again to Delegate Ruth's question, because I think it was a really good question. It's important for us to understand a little bit more about how you collaborate with the counties. Why would this be better off in the hands of local inspectors? Is it an issue of bandwidth? And I think you probably checked that box and said yes for you. But are there other benefits to doing it, having it done here locally? I mean, is it the local vantage point perspective? Is that somehow helpful? Is there some kind of financial gain? You maybe try to address that a little bit. It's still not clear to me the difference. I feel like there's a thin line between collaboration and duplication. And you're saying it's not duplication, it is collaboration. Can you just drill down on that a little bit more? How exactly are they, with the county Inspector General's office, be handling as many cases as they can handle and then forward to you when we've reached the capacity, or would they just be consulting you with trickier cases? How does that collaboration work so that we can know it's not a duplicative thing?
That's a good question. I don't know if you're aware, education law is totally different than almost any other law that's out there. We have to handle, when I say 24 school systems, you have to understand we actually take care of 48 school system. So that's 24 boards of education, 24 school systems, and the Maryland State Department of Education. So the complication of what's required, we have to look at not only the education article, but also COMAR, how it applies to that respective county. And then we also have to go into the county and look at the charter and see if the charter allows certain benefits or certain other privileges for each respective either superintendent or their board members, things of that nature. When it comes to an IG for the county, they can immediately look at that. And I say that because some of these cases might take anywhere from 6 months to a year or more. And it's only because we're dealing with 48 law firms. So everyone, in some cases, some people respect the authority to be given all the documents and turn them over, where some of them we have run into the same situation as IG Cumming has just run into, where they look at it as, well, it's public information, so you're only entitled to PIA. And then it's some that we've had to threaten to take to court. So these are all these things that stall us across the state, whereas the IG itself could address that immediately at the county level, and we don't have to worry about that. Again, when it comes to education, it is a different, you have to look. I mean, each article has something respective to each county. So we have to make sure, and I have a great attorney. I have a great assistant state's attorney, attorney general who has, I worked with at the U.S. Attorney's Office, and we both shake our heads sometimes when it looks at what some counties have for rules and what some other counties don't. So I think it was a benefit. I think we are looked at as authority. When this first started, I said, it looked as though I'm going to work myself out of a job. And if that happens, that's fine. That every county turns around and has their IG, that would be great. That would be the same model as, having in a number of states throughout the country where they have their own IG for every county, or you can have an own IG for the school board, where they have in California, Chicago, New York, things of that nature, and in Philadelphia. So there's always these different models that you could use to see exactly what's going to work. But for me, that's why I said I support this endeavor, just because I know the local IG could address the school system immediately. The thing I was concerned about, as I had spoken with Senator Jackson and also with Delegate Naraki, is this seems to have stemmed solely from a performance audit issue about the money. And I said, what do you do with the auditors, or what do you do with the investigators after you've conducted your initial investigation? Do they now go and you compete against the local auditor? Do they compete against the internal auditors? These are things that you'll have plenty of time to figure out in the future. And will that be me to help out in figuring out? Will that be Mr. Quisenberry? Will that be, whoever's going to follow suit on the county council? So again, it's a cloudy crystal ball to ask me about the future, but I know right now, I'm 100% in support, and will do whatever I can to, make this endeavor happen.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Delegate Bhandari, question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, our Maryland State Inspector General for Education, Richard. This bill is ultimately about trust in the oversight, trust in local judgment, and trust in institution. As you stated that, and you are, I believe the first OIZE. Could you please clarify HB 89? When I read it, I need to read it more closely. I don't see in this bill the priority rules or conflict resolution or coordination requirements. That's number one. And also, you said that this bill will do this is kind of forum shopping by complaint. That's one question. Based on your experience, I would like to hear your experience. And the second question is, the state with this bill is effectively delegating its one oversight judgment downward, right? And in your experience, what is the single most important condition that must exist at the local level for that delegation to strengthen accountability rather than politicizing it? I've got two questions. Mr. Henry.
Certainly. I think I'll leave it the interpretation of the bill for its sponsor, Delegate Naraki. But in this particular case, it's my understanding that very similar, and as I had suggested to Senator Jackson and Delegate Naraki, is that the model that was already in place, that had already been reviewed, had already been passed by not only the local delegation, but the legislature, was the model that was in place for Montgomery County. Again, they are doing the same thing that we're doing. They are looking at the education aspect, but it took about 3 years for that office to be truly up and running and set up to really conduct investigations. But during that time, we still worked collaboratively on cases that they received on complaints. So that would occur here at the same time. Does it mean that because Baltimore County has its own IG and be overseeing schools that we would not have any insight? No, that's not the case. I don't foresee that. One of the things I can say since the start of this office, every case that we have provided has been down to the granular level when we have provided all of our reports and all of our complaints. That goes back to the network intrusion. That goes back to the Omni alert that we just had. That just goes back to the sexual offenders that we had. We have got to the granular level. That is what an investigator does. An auditor is not going to look down to the granular level. And to answer your question about transparency, that's what we provide. We provide that transparency. We provide those answers, because one of the biggest things I wanted to make sure, and in the recent Omni alert, is that the right information got out as fast as it could. And that's why we worked immediately with Superintendent Rogers and her team to get the information out before any rumors or the public had a distrust. That's the idea of the IG, is to ensure that there's trust out there, ensure that there's an independent review. I wasn't restricted by some of the things that I saw or whatever else. We made solid recommendations, solid best practice recommendations that were across the industry. So that, I think, to answer your question, is what this office is about. No matter if it's at the local level or at the state level, it is about that transparency. Is it about that independence? And it's about informing the public so the public has trust in what's going on.
Just to clarify, what is the, I mean, could you clarify the priority rules if their parallel investigation is going on?
Do you mean if the Baltimore County has an investigation which is similar to ours?
Then you have an investigation. Yeah. What is the priority rules?
Well, then we would work together. I'd say what we have done in the past, we have worked together in these cases. That there's no, we haven't had a priority to say in Montgomery County. It's only been since Montgomery County has asked us if there is some assistance that we can provide, or if we have received complaints. We have received several complaints about, as I had said, about Montgomery County, over 250, that we have referred back to Montgomery County and worked with them on that. So it's at that point, it's in the hands of the IG for Montgomery County. There has been some times that we have worked and provided information to help complement their investigation that we have readily available to MSDE or to other resources. So we are complementing that. Again, trying to get into education, trying to understand education is totally different than administrative law or criminal law. And it's until you can really wrap your head around it, it's very confusing. So
thank you, sir. Thank you. And on that subject, you mentioned an MOU, and that seems significant. I would love it if you would share the contents of the MOU you currently have with the Baltimore County Inspector General's office, so we can lay that side by side with some of what we're considering. It strikes me that this bill probably needs a few more guardrails for us to put on the council when they approve this, and seeing what those are would really be helpful. You can communicate that directly to my office if you would, please, or you can send it to the administrator who sends you the information about how to get online.
I'll send that
be
over
very
to Kate.
eager to see that.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Next, I have Delegate Mangione, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple questions for the sponsor, and they're all yes or no, so I can just make sure I'm understanding correctly in interest of time. So I want to understand the current oversight relies really as we heard, I guess, an internal self-reporting. So there's no independent watchdog. That's a yes or no, Delegate Naraki.
That's correct. There's not an investigator now.
So then the IG just said the statewide a little while ago that he could use more staff and supports this bill.
Yes, that's correct.
And this bill does not immediately give the IG, the local IG, power over the schools. It means they would need the council would need to act and approve.
That's correct. The council would need to approve whatever guardrails and budgetary authority that they would put in place for the office.
And so I understand that it's not changing any school policy, curriculum, or operations at all.
That's correct. It is just enabling legislation. It is not authorizing legislation. That local control would still rest at the county council and inside of Baltimore County government.
So yeah, so in other words, too, it doesn't remove any authority from the school board.
That's correct.
And I guess my last question would be, I mean, if you're aware that there was a resolution, I believe Councilman Marks mentioned, if that was a 6-1 vote in favor, and it was both 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats. I wasn't sure if you're aware of that.
Yes, there was. That's right, Delegate. It was a 6-1 vote, overwhelming bipartisan majority in support of asking for this authority.
And I believe, Delegate Rocket, it was part of your testimony. So
yes,
let's
sir.
make sure our questions are not just asking for a repetition of testimony here. All right, and thank you, sir.
Well,
Delegate Grammer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes. My computer's a little weird too.
Okay, I'll be very brief. I have
Yeah. This time it's
I
not
have
me.
2 questions, I think. Can Maggie comments if she could, please?
I'm sorry, what's the
Does the
question,
board see all
Delegate Grammer?
comments that come through the hotline?
Delegate Grammer, what's the question?
Does the board see all of the complaints that come through the hotline?
Okay, thank you.
I
And
believe
this is
that
for Ms.
question was,
Dominowski?
yes,
Okay,
I am a member of that audit committee, and no, we do not see all the complaints that come through the hotline. Typically, they go to the superintendent or to the chair of the audit committee, and they work together to see which complaints the committee gets to review.
All right, and he's frozen. I felt like you had a follow-up there.
Okay.
But, freezing up on us a bit right now. Delegate Cardin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to all the witnesses for very compelling testimony. This is for Mr. Henry. I just want to know, the legislation does not require the IG to take up every single complaint or issue. They can pick and choose which ones they're going to investigate. Is that correct?
That's correct. Not every complaint turns into an investigation.
And you have historically, just want to make sure I understood correctly, historically you have worked with, for example, Montgomery County and to a certain extent Baltimore County to make sure that you're, if there's a complaint that you need to discuss whether you're going to take it up or not, that there's work collaboration to figure out where the biggest bang for your buck is. Is that fair to say?
Unfortunately, yes. We have to weigh the complaint versus our resources and then the impact of the investigation. That's correct.
And if we gave this authority to the county and the county gave the authority to the IG to do this, the IG would still basically have to decide which complaints or whether they're going to deal with all the complaints or which complaints they're going to deal with. They're not going to be required to just deal with everything that comes their way. Is that my understanding?
That's correct. In some cases, a complaint might be about a different department that all you do is find out the information about that particular department and pass it on to the complainant. In other cases, it might be totally someone just wanting to vent an issue. Not every complaint is related to either an agency or the school, and doesn't rise to the level of an investigation. You're correct.
Okay, so my final question is, there is, if there's an issue that the IG doesn't want to take up, but might be appropriate for you guys, there could be collaboration or discussion as to whether that's something appropriate, that there's flexibility with how this would be handled, even if they were given the authority to do it.
And that is correct. That's why early on when I started this office, we created the MOU that afforded the IG to, they didn't have to stop at the educational border. If there was an issue that was both Baltimore County government related and Baltimore County education related, we would then collaborate at that point. Some of the things that people don't realize is there are federal laws when it comes to dealing with student records that you would have to make sure in this legislation, or the working group would have to make sure that the IG is protected, especially under FERPA. So with that, we then take, and they come under our umbrella for that protection.
Okay, and then just lastly, there was a question about timing and dealing with this, and it could take 3 years. It took 3 years for Montgomery County. But if we're enabling this, there's really no rush to get it up and running immediately. The idea is to get it up and running correctly. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I would agree with you 100% there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the time.
Thanks. Delegate Grammer, I see you're back on. Do you have one final question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question, I don't think I cut out previously. Someone had spoke to deference of authority. I wanted to ask, was there, the bill sponsor, was there another example of where this authority was shared here?
Mr. Chair, that's to me?
That was directed to you. Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry, I didn't want to just jump in.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. I would say, Delegate Grammer, the most obvious example is one that we've talked about here in Montgomery County. The state has granted this authority to Montgomery County, but there are many other examples where the state has granted authority to either Baltimore County government or other county governments to do things that are typically reserved to the state. I think probably the most obvious one, we've had a couple of debates inside of this delegation over the past couple of years, is about speed cameras. We have deferred that authority in Baltimore County, generally speaking, to the county government. That's the most obvious, but there are others with building performance standards. And there's a long list that I could share with you, Delegate, of areas where we have taken what is traditionally state authority and granted that authority to local governments.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And now for our last question, Delegate Phillips, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all the witnesses for coming in. So I want to ask Mr. Henry, when it comes to oversight of a state agency, are you the only oversight for Baltimore County Public Schools?
At a state agency level, myself, for the investigative side, the Office of Legislative Audits conducts audits once every 6 years. And then you also have the requirements under Maryland State Department of Education. So, there's actually 3 oversights of all school systems.
And can a complaint be directed directly to the Office of Legislative Audits to do any type of special audits?
Complaints can be received by the Office of Legislative Audits. When it comes to educational matters, they have forwarded those complaints to us so that we can look into them. The Office of Legislative Audit already has an audit plan for school systems, again, because the school system is only audited once every 6 years. So when there are complaints received about education throughout the state, it has been customary for the OLA to provide us those complaints.
And what about the Maryland State Prosecutor if there's a complaint?
We have also received complaints from the Office of the State Prosecutor and from the Office of the Attorney General.
But they could conduct their own investigation. They do that as they relate that to you because you're the experts. How about the Office of the Attorney General?
Well, again, Delegate, they refer it to us if it's not criminal. If it's criminal in nature, then they'll probably keep that case. But if we start investigating it and we determine that there's a criminal nexus, then we'll then partner back with them in regards to that case.
And how about the Joint Audit and Evaluation Committee?
I haven't had a chance to work with them on any collaborations. Since
so there are a number of other ways that complaints can be filed and directed either to you or they could be handled on their own. I'm just trying to figure out, are we, I know we're moving down a path that suggests that it's great to do this locally. I'm just looking at all of the duplication of effort and all of the different ways the audits could be done. You mentioned the MOU, but you also, did I understand you to say you really haven't acted on the MOU specific to complaints for Baltimore County Public Schools?
Although we have an MOU, again, there's been 17 investigations that we've conducted in Baltimore County. Of those 17 investigations, 7 were complaints that were also received by the IG, 5 that were referred to us. So we have not worked hand in hand since I've been in this office, but I have afforded each IG the opportunity with the MOU to not have to stop at that education border if they had a separate investigation that went into education.
Okay. And could that MOU, and I'm interested as is the chair in taking a look at that MOU, but it sounds to me that you could leverage the MOU as opposed to having to set up a whole separate entity or authorize this IG to assist you in Baltimore County Public School matters.
That's correct. The MOU would grant the IG the same authority that we have over education. And I have forwarded a copy to the delegation and to Delegate Aristole's Chief of Staff.
In terms of oversight of state-related agencies, my sense is that Montgomery County is an outlier. Do we allow state agencies that have a local affiliation? I'm just thinking about some things. Is there any instance where we allow an IG to review the state's attorney's office in various municipalities?
That I'm not aware of. I think the closest.
If you're not aware, that's okay. If you're not aware, that's fine. Is there any instance where we allow the IG to review the clerk's office?
No.
Is there any instance where we allow the IG to review the election boards?
No.
A local IG. So
No.
we are talking about something very different, a slippery slope, where we're giving the IG of a local municipality to regulate and to do oversight of a state agency. Okay, I'm just needed to ask those questions. I'm trying to see where we're going. Thank you.
Thank you. And I did say last, but it's a day of exceptions. We've left a number of witnesses in, and I see someone who rarely asks a question unless it's a really good one. He's often quiet. And Delegate Stein, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. And it is a quick question. Mr. Henry, you may have said this already, but could you remind me, are your reports made public?
Yes, sir. Every one of our reports, no matter if it's a management alert report, an investigation, or our investigative audits, are available on our website.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I see no more questions. And so that will bring us to the end of our testimony on House Bill 89. I want to make a point to thank all of the people who came to testify, but in particular, State Inspector Henry. You fielded a number of questions and did so admirably, and I appreciated your clarity. And thank you very, very much. With that, we'll move on to House Bill 388, Baltimore County Public Library Collective Bargaining for Supervisory Employees. And Delegate Forbes is the sponsor of this bill. Delegate Forbes, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Ebersol. Thank you, Vice Chair Pasteur, members of the delegation, and thank you all for showing up this morning in the robust discussion that you always bring. I think this one will be a little easier for you. This is House Bill 388, a bill that would add supervisors as a second unit of employees of the Baltimore County Public Library System to form, join, and participate in an employee organization and engage in collective bargaining. In 2021, we passed a bill that gave employees of the library system the right to collectively bargain. They then joined Montgomery County and Prince George's County in forming a union. Our legislation that passed in 2021 made the statewide legislation in 2024, the Library Workers Empowerment Act, which extended that right to collectively bargain to all the other library systems in the state that didn't already have that privilege. We were left out of the 2024 bill because we already had legislation and a union formed, but the 2024 bill allowed all those other library systems to have two bargaining group, both employees and supervising employees. So this bill is just a technical correction and a fix to Baltimore County's legislation and would allow supervisors to collectively bargain. It's a bill of parity. The supervisors in our system are left out of the statewide bill, and this bill would correct that inequity. And I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. We have two in support, so we'll let them testify first and then see if there are questions for any of the three of you. First, we have Yar Sheikh, President of the Baltimore County Public Library Board of Trustees. Sheikh.
I just accepted her from the waiting room. She just rejoined, so she should be on right now.
Okay. Does she know she's recognized? Yara
Hello,
Sheikh.
thank you. My
hoping that we get
apologies. I had some,
Perfect. No worries.
I'm just starting my video. I'm sorry. So, good morning. Good morning, Chair Ebersol and Vice Chair Pasteur and the Baltimore County delegation. My name is Yara Sheikh, as many of you know, and I serve as Chair of the Board of Trustees for the Baltimore County Public Library. I'm here today on behalf of the Board of Trustees in support of House Bill 388, which will allow supervisors in our libraries to collectively bargain as other employees currently do. I want to provide a little bit of history on this issue for those who were not around 5 years ago or may not remember. 5 years ago, legislation was introduced by Delegate Forbes and Senator Heddleman to allow Baltimore County library employees to collectively bargain. And we supported that bill, working closely with the House and Senate sponsors. Since the passage of this law, the library and the union have enjoyed significant progress. The union moved towards holding elections and having their first contract in place within months after the passage of the law. They have successfully negotiated 5 contracts, including the latest MOU that was just recently ratified by staff. There has been open communication and ongoing collaboration that have resulted in few grievances, and when they do come up, we have addressed them appropriately. These are solid indicators that not only is the collaboration between BCPL and the collective bargaining unit moving in a more positive direction, but that BCPL's law is working as intended. BCPL supervisors help maintain a positive work environment where employees are valued and supported, and we support their right to collectively bargain. Simply, our staff make the incredible services in our libraries possible. This legislation would also mean that BCPL employees would have the same opportunities as other library systems across the state due to the statewide collective bargaining law. I want to thank Delegate Forbes and in the Senate, Senator Heddleman for bringing forth this legislation. We urge the committee to vote favorably on House Bill 3888, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. We
And I might have given the House Bill one extra 8. It's 3.
Okay, that's
Sorry.
just 3. Yes, just 2 8s after the 3. Next, we have Anita Bass, President of Local 4538, also testifying in support. Ms. Bass.
Good morning. I'd like to say it's nice to see a lot of familiar faces from my Baltimore County. I'd like to say thank you for having me speak here. And good morning to the Baltimore County House delegation and Chair Ebersol and I hope my delegate's still on there, Rick Metzger. Good to see you. Thank you for allowing me to speak on House Bill 388. My name is Anita Bass, and I am the proud president of I Am Local 4538, which represents Towson Apple Store and the Baltimore County Public Libraries. I am here in support of House Bill 388 because it will enable the Baltimore County Public Library Supervisor Unit if they so choose to unionize. When the Library Workers Empowerment Act passed for the state, we were not included, as you heard. Now, our people, our supervisors want to be included. The supervisors unit should have the same rights to unionize as non-supervisory unit. They still have concerns with working conditions and wages. Recent events at BCPL have shown what happens when workers at all levels lack a seat at the table. There can be abrupt staffing decisions. As BCPL, 14 part-time librarians were fired, and that caused a disruption to communities for our libraries that we serve. Collective bargaining rights provide structure, accountability, and stability. They do not interfere with the library system. They improve it. Granting the BCPL supervisory unit eligibility to unionize simply brings our system in line with the rest of the state. It affirms that fairness, consistency, and respect for public workers matter. It ensures that public libraries remain strong, stable institutions for the communities that depend on them. House Bill 388 does not make them a union. The BCPL supervisory unit would like to be eligible to unionize if they so choose. I ask for a favorable report on House Bill 388. Thank you.
And thank you very much. I don't see any questions, and that concludes the support and the sponsor's testimony. So without further ado, that will end the hearing on House Bill 388. We now move to House Bill 305, Baltimore County Nuisance Actions, Community Associations. This is Delegate Grammer. Delegate Grammer, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the delegation. For the record, Delegate Robin Grammer to present House Bill 305. House Bill 305 alters the qualifications used to determine standing for community associations when seeking judicial relief for nuisance actions in Baltimore County. The current language of this section is prohibitive to functional use of the statute. Specifically, the household dues and bonding requirements under this code make the code impractical and out of step with how modern community associations work. Most communities have found it dysfunctional and have legitimate concerns dismissed for a lack of standing. The goal of the bill is to mirror the changes, as best we can, adopted by Baltimore City, which has found these revisions to be appropriate and effective. In this year's version, several changes have been adopted to more closely mirror the Baltimore City statute and to address concerns pointed out in the bill last year by the developers. This year, we have made several changes. First, we have added language requiring a 60-day waiting period if the property in question is subject to an active enforcement plan. We have added language excluding stormwater management from the standing provided in the statute. We have added service of process requirements to both owner of record and potential tenants to protect due process. Finally, we've added that action cannot be filed against owners of a residential property unless a notice of violation has been issued by the appropriate enforcement agency. In the cases of housing or building code violation, the violation is outstanding after a period of 75 days. These amendments, again, were requested by the developers. This bill has passed the full House in 2018, full House in 2019, full Senate in 2020. Thanks for the opportunity to present House Bill 305. Be happy to take questions, and I'd ask for a favorable.
Thank you. We have some witnesses, but they are in opposition, so we'll take questions of the sponsor at this time. Delegate Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I should go on video, but thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Delegate Grammer, for this bill. I just want to confirm you did meet with the developers, and that includes the builders, and you made some changes to address their concerns.
Yeah, so when this got to the committee last year, a series of amendments were suggested, and all of those were adopted. I mentioned them, but they're all kind of like due process related. You know, let's make sure we don't, these actions can't be issued for active code violations. They were all very reasonable, and we took all of those amendments.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Delegate. Okay, seeing no other questions of the sponsor, so we have two people to testify in opposition. Remember, 2 minutes. Bob Enton from the Maryland Building Industry Association and Maryland Multi-Housing Association. Mr. Enton, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Robert Enton, I'm testifying today on behalf of the Maryland Multi-Housing Association, which is trade associations for owners of rental properties. Can you hear me? You hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, fine. And
Yes,
also
we can hear you fine.
on behalf of the Maryland Building Industry Association, very much opposed to this legislation. This legislation has been in repeatedly. The problem with this legislation, and you have our letters of opposition, particularly the letter from MMHA, is very detailed. But the bottom line for this is that this was unique legislation which was negotiated 10, 15 years ago between all the parties. What this bill does is it completely guts the requirements that are necessary to make sure that community associations are real community associations. There's no limit whatsoever. It removes all of the language. If you look at page 2 of the bill, for instance, in lines 1 through 4, that's comprised of 20% of total household as members. All that language in there, including the requirement to pay dues, et cetera, was all in there to make sure that if we're going to have an exception to what is known as legally, and for the lawyers on the committee, standing, this legislation, which allows these community associations to pursue litigation for these violations, eliminates the common law rules of standing, that you have a personal stake and interest. Happy to continue discussions with the sponsor, but the bill in its present form just completely undoes any of the requirements that are in the bill today regarding making sure that community association is a real community association, and that's why we're opposed. Thank you. Happy to answer questions.
Testimony. Yes, we'll go first though to Tom Ballantyne of NAIOP Maryland. Mr. Ballantyne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Vice Chair, members of the delegation, my name is Tom Ballantyne with NAIOP Maryland. We're a commercial real estate trade association here in opposition to House Bill 305. Our members include some of the largest commercial property owners in Baltimore County. They understand how nuisance properties undermine neighborhood quality of life and don't want bad actors to find safe harbor. However, this bill expands the scope of activities that community associations can take to the circuit court. Current law limits standing to nuisance activities defined in Article 13 of the County Code. This bill broadens standing to include all the activities under Article 35, building and housing. This includes building permits, and we don't see why building permits are included in a nuisance abatement bill. Our second concern is the removal of all of the local membership requirements for qualifying community associations. Current law requires membership baseline of 20% of households in the community, demonstrated local support through dues, and at least 1 year of organizational history. These minimum qualifications ensure that standing is granted to associations that represent a neighborhood constituency. This bill also grants standing to umbrella organizations or associations of associations, and because the local membership requirements are removed, this provision would grant standing to organizations that are not neighborhood improvement groups that are granted standing today. Also increases the likelihood that multiple organizations with different interests could claim to represent the same geographic area. So for us, the premise of this bill is that Baltimore County's nuisance abatement process is fundamentally ineffective and that citizen suits are the best solution. We don't share that view. We see the appropriate path as improving the county's inspection and code enforcement process rather than shifting responsibility to the courts. And in closing, I'll just point out that the amendments that we proposed last year before this went to the Senate were not accepted in full. We did present amendments that would address our concerns here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we have some questions for, I assume, these two witnesses. Delegate Cardin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because my video is not working right, so I just want to make sure. Okay. This can either be to NAIOP or to Mr. Anton, either one, but my understanding is if we pass this legislation, that's an entity could create a association of a very limited size, say 3 or 4 people, membership might not have to pay dues. They could, they don't have to. They could be chosen from anywhere around the country, not just around the state, but around the country, the membership. And there's no requirement for proximity. So somebody from Prince George's County could set up an association with 5 members of Prince George's County, none of them paying any dues, and then somehow get standing to be able to file a nuisance suit for Green Tree Homeowners Association where I live in Baltimore County. Is that my understanding?
I think that your understanding is absolutely correct, Delegate Cardin. Once again, I mean, the whole idea of the language that's being deleted was to make sure that these were real community associations that had an interest in a specific area. The way I read the bill, and I think the way you read it, is that I could create a community association. I live in your district, but I could create a one-person community association, and say that the geographic boundary included White Marsh, and then I don't have to be incorporated. I don't have to, and I could then have standing to file a lawsuit, even though I'm not personally affected in any way, shape, or form, to file a lawsuit under the expanded violation statutes against someone in White Marsh. And
Okay.
that was never the intent, and we think it's wrong.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Delegate Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you said that this would present, and this is for either of you, you said that this would present opportunities for community associations that are not real community associations. However, isn't it true that in the bill that they would still have to be exempt from taxation under the IRS code in order to file these suits?
Anybody, I mean, you can, if you're an exempt organization, it doesn't mean you could have a 3-person organization, as I said in Pikesville, having influence over what happens in White Marsh. And you're a tax, I'm not a tax lawyer, but you could certainly, I would think you could you could be tax exempt. Your tax status has nothing to do with whether or not you should have standing to bring these lawsuits.
But isn't it so that there's a certain barrier to, you have to be a real organization in order, I have filed with the IRS for, nonprofit organizations as well. So wouldn't that be protection to ensure that it's just not a group of people who just come in and do something, that they actually have to create a corporation and apply to the IRS?
Once again, I mean, I think the bill has conflicting provisions. It's operated. Let me see. It takes out the requirement of being in existence for a year. It says that the incorporated is in good standing with the State Department of Assessments and Taxation, meets the requirements. The residents, 2 or more individual community associations. It does away with all of the exempt provision is there today. Okay, but what the bill does is it does away with all of the requirements, and that was the main concern. The requirements that have been eliminated were the main concern. I went back and looked this morning at the original bill, and if you look at the original bill, like I say, that was, I forget how many years ago, 20 years ago, whatever, amendments were negotiated to reduce the number of people that had to be in a community association, to change this, to change that. But the one thing that wasn't changed was the requirement that it be a real community association. And that's still in the bill. And I don't think it has anything to do I'm not a tax lawyer, but I don't think it has anything to do with tax exempt status, with all due respect.
Thank you. And my question, that wasn't exactly my question, but I don't want to get into a debate situation. And we're just supposed to be asking questions here. So I just have one more question. And it seems to me from both of your testimony that one of the big concerns you have is this geographic issue, that it could be someone from another area of the county completely that would file these. And so are you open? That seems like it would be a fairly simple thing to fix. And are you open to, changes that would tweak that to ensure that it's actually somebody in the close geographic area?
Well, from my point of view, that is one of the concerns. Okay. But notwithstanding that, this makes it so easy for someone to form a community.
Okay, but that wasn't my question. My question is, are you open to a tweak that would that be something that you would be open to?
Sure, we'd be happy to discuss it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Valentine, I see you, but the question wasn't directed at you. So
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you. The question was directed to you, and in the interest of time, I think we're going to go ahead and move forward. Seeing no other questions, that concludes the testimony on House Bill 305. We have a couple of minutes left, and we have a little bit of voting to do. Some of the first couple of votes, I feel, will go pretty quickly, so we're going to try to those. If we can't get to the others, we'll delay them till next week's agenda. First, we have House Bill 327, the Board of Community College Trustees for the Community College of Baltimore County, alterations to its size. I'll go to the Education Subcommittee Chair for a motion on that bill, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Education Subcommittee moved favorably on this bill at a vote of 4-0.
All right. Do I hear a second of that motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the bill? Yes, Delegate Shalega.
Thank you. Can you, you're the sponsor, Delegate Eversole. Can you give us a nice summary, please?
In an elevator ride, yes, it reduces the size from 15 to 9. It assigns not 2, but 1 trustee from each council district, now that there are 9 districts, 2 to 11, I should say, and still allows for 2 at large. These are not elected. They're appointed by the governor, but they have to be appointed from those geographic areas. We made sure that all the people who are on could stay on to finish out their terms. It worked out perfectly.
And total number of
11.
trustees again?
It will be 11 now, was 15.
Okay.
I will point out that 15 is 50% larger than any other board of trustees at this level in the state.
Thank you.
Certainly. Is there any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, I feel like we could probably just do a roll call. We don't need to do a roll call vote on this. All those in favor of the favorable moment. And I will mention beforehand that that generally speaking, our favorable motion, if we go that way, comes along with an amendment to change the sponsor to Baltimore County delegation. That has been our policy and will continue to be. All in favor of the bill with the attached amendment to change the sponsor, raise your hand or say aye. And I froze at that exact moment. How good. Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Let's go this way. I have a lot of ayes. Do I have any opposed at this time? Speak to me. All right. Thank you. That passes unanimously with the current quorum present. Next bill that we're going to take up is Baltimore County School Board Nominating Commission membership and alterations. Again, we go to the Education Subcommittee Chair for a motion on this bill.
What's the bill number?
It's House Bill 96. It alters members of the School Board Nominating Commission and changes their terms, so we never get stuck at a point like we were this year where the whole there was no members of the Nominating Commission. So there were terms will be at different times. And the committee met on this and voted 4-0 to move favorably.
Do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay. I see one question, Delegate Shalega.
Thank you. I just think about the people watching us. Can you, Delegate Forbes, just give us a little summation and so the public knows what we're voting on? Thank you.
Certainly. So the legislation, we have 19 members of our nominating commission, and one of them was the Baltimore County Chamber of Commerce that is no longer in existence. So it supports out for the Greater Baltimore County Chamber of Commerce for that thing. It adds AFSCME to a member of the nominating commission, and it also adds the Citizens Advisory Council for gifted and talented education. They both asked for a seat on the nominating commission. And these are the people that review the applicants for appointed positions to the school board and then send those names to the governor for the governor's appointments.
Thank you.
Okay. Delegate Allen, I see a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, my question just for you. My internet's been cutting out. What's the bill number on this one, just so I'm accounting for it properly?
House Bill 96.
House Bill 96, yes.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Delegate Forbes.
All right, we have a motion favorable and a second to that motion. I didn't sense a lot of resistance, so we're gonna try to do it by roll call. All in favor, raise your hands if you can, please. I see a
Aye.
lot of hands out there. Hands down. Does anyone want to vote against this bill? Okay, I see Delegate Grammer voting against. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, this bill passes along with an amendment for the sponsor to become the Baltimore County delegation. We can try this. This one is perhaps a little more controversial. We have about 8 minutes. We'll see what happens here. If we get in the middle of this, we will just step back. If we have a motion, we'll carry forward. We are going the HB 121 alcoholic beverages. Is my understanding that the subcommittee didn't come together and meet on this yet, so that will be delayed until next week. House Bill 211, property tax return order, Police Lodge 34. I would go to Delegate Ruth, the chair of the subcommittee, for a motion on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 211 is enabling legislation that authorizes the County Council of Baltimore County to grant 100% tax credit against the property tax imposed on real property owned by the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 34, located at 730 Wampler Road in Middle River. That's the summary. I'll just add that this is the FOP for MDTA. The subcommittee motion is favorable, so I move favorable.
Thank you. Do I have a second to that favorable motion?
Second.
I hear a second from Delegate Long. Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the bill at this time? Yeah, I did hear some folks when talking about this bill expressing some concerns. Delegate Cardin, I see a question.
Just real quick. So if I remember correctly, the county did not take a position, or they were okay with it because it was only about $9,000 total is what they estimated.
The county did not.
With your permission, Madam Chair of the subcommittee, we'll go to Ms. Twessigy to see if the county would like to weigh in.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, but I did miss the question because you.
The question is simply, did the county want to weigh in on the favorable motion on this bill?
No, we are not weighing in at this time. Thank you.
And so then my next question is this enabling so the county council can grant this, or is this, once we do it, it's done?
No, it's
for
enabling.
the chair. Yeah.
It's enabling, and it does have to be voted on by the county council.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
I see Delegate Forbes also has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is this unique to the county, or are there other organizations that have this already?
Thank you for the question. The fiscal note lists a number of other organizations that are authorized by the state. I don't know how many of those are actually were enabled, but there are maybe 20 or 30 different organizations that have optional tax credits that are, specific properties. And then there are 4 that are mandatory tax credits.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, we're going to do this by roll call, and we're going to get through it. We're going to start with the vice chair and then move through alphabetically. On the favorable motion, Delegate Vice Chair Pasteur. You can all activate your mics so you don't have to worry about it. If you want to get them all going, we can get through this. Delegate Pasteur, are you there?
I don't see her.
I don't see her either. Okay, absent for this vote. Delegate Allen.
Yes.
Delegate Bhandari.
Yes.
Delegate Cardin.
Yes.
Delegate Forbes.
Yes.
Delegate Grammer.
Yes.
Delegate Guyton.
Yes.
Delegate Jones is excused. Delegate Long.
Yes.
Delegate Mangione. Okay. Is Delegate Mangione online? Okay, we'll mark him as absent. Delegate Pasteur has weighed in positive, just a technical thing. She'd pop in the door here. Delegate McCaskill. Also not present.
She's there. Yeah, I had
Delegate
to
Cat-
switch off my video. Yes.
Okay. Delegate Metzger.
Absolutely.
Delegate Naraki.
Yes, and it's got a great bill sponsor.
Delegate Phillips. That
Yes.
we can do it. We can do an amendment, but I don't think we're gonna.
Yes.
I didn't hear your answer, Delegate Phillips. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, Delegate Ruth.
Yes.
Sorry, I skipped you, Delegate Ross. Sorry about that, Delegate Ross.
Yes.
Thank you. Delegate Stein.
Yes.
Delegate Shalega.
Yes.
Delegate White Holland.
Yes.
Okay, we have 16 positive votes. The chair doesn't vote. And this bill carries with a favorable report. Apparently, I misread the room a little bit there. So thank you all very much. This bill will also go to the appropriate committee with an amendment that turns it into a Baltimore County delegation bill. That actually concludes our business. Nicely done, man. We're sliding into home at the last minute here. I'm not going to pontificate much. I call us adjourned. I'll see you over on the floor.